Storage. Some people do it like this, some people do it like that. For myself, I've always done it simple and manual for the last 10 years on my world, but finally I'm gonna be making some changes and hopefully build my perfect storage system. But before I talk about what that's gonna look like, let's see where things are right now. This is the current storage on my world, and well, it's not great. This room is very old. It's basically as old as the world itself, and I don't know, maybe for the time it was pretty cool, but now, you'll see. Behind each lamp is a double chest hooked up to a comparator, so you could look at the interface and go, oh, okay, I've got 4 double chests of redstone ore. And it makes for a fun way to visualize how much stuff you have. The problem is the setup only gives you access to 1 chest at the bottom, so if you want more items than this, then you'll have to wait for them to trickle down. And on the flip side, because I never installed an auto sorting system, I end up having to go behind the redstone and manually load items into the top chest, which at that point it's like, why don't I just have rows of chests instead? And funny I should mention rows of chests, because that's exactly what I ended up doing anyways in 2 other places. This one here is for all sorts of miscellaneous bulk items, and this one here is for all the items that overflowed out of the first room that we were looking at. All of these locations are scattered underground, and none of it is automated, so I'm constantly running back and forth gathering and organizing my resources. It's poorly optimized, it's outdated, and I'm gonna gut it all like a fish. Man, it was extremely cathartic to finally rid myself of that old setup after all these years. I mean, I've been planning on replacing my storage system for a while now, but finally being able to pull the trigger, that was exciting. I've got a whole new storage system planned out, but before I get into that, I'd like to talk for a second about shulkers. Because in order to gut everything out, I needed to pack it all into shulker boxes and stash it over here. And in order to get my hands on this many shulkers, I needed to make a farm. Now, shulker boxes were originally implemented as a fixed spawn. You got however many an End City gave you, and that was it. It wasn't until quite a few years later that they added the ability to farm them, which is something that I haven't been able to take advantage of until just recently now that I've updated my world. But unlike most other farms where mobs spawn out of thin air, shulkers have a really unique approach where they have the chance to duplicate if they hit themselves with their own projectiles. This leads to a farm design that sort of mimics a nuclear reactor where the shulkers constantly duplicate and die off in a self-sustaining fission reaction. It's really cool and I was excited to build one, but as I began to search, I started to notice an issue. You see, most farms I could find were either broken or utilized the player sitting AFK to aggro the shulkers, and this is something I wholly avoid doing on the Let's Play. If I'm on the world, I want to actually be doing something, not sitting while things land in my lap, so I kind of got stuck. The design I originally wanted to use was broken because of a change to armor stands, and nothing else I could find fit the bill. Or at least that was until Grumpy messaged me. Welcome everybody to my Shulker Farm. This wonderful design by RaiseWorks uses the same principle of a nuclear reactor. The shulkers inside will perpetually shoot themselves and continue the reaction, only instead of using the player, it utilizes this clever setup with a snow golem and trapdoor to keep aggro. The trapdoor opens periodically, which keeps them fighting, and the lava makes sure that their projectiles get destroyed so they can't actually hurt each other. It's elegant, it's simple, and most importantly, it works. Now the rates will always fluctuate a bit, but so far from what I've been able to see, this farm gets about 5 shells every minute, which comes out to around 300 per hour. Some people might think that's slow, but for my purposes, it's perfect. You see, because I don't like to AFK, but I still need farms to get me loot, my workaround is to build the farm first and then design the aesthetics afterwards. That way, while I'm working in the area, the farm can run in the background. And let's just say that for this one, I've got a massive project planned, one that's gonna need more than a few of its own episodes, so I don't really need a crazy efficient farm because I'll be spending plenty of time here in the future. That being said though, I did need a sizable amount of shulkers for my storage system, almost a double chest's worth, so I ended up spending over 12 hours in the area farming trees while I waited. Oh, how I've become acquainted with that little island. Many a long evening spent chopping down trees in the void. It was peaceful. And lonely. Anyways, we'll be returning to this area in the future. Like I said, massive plans, but for now, let's get back to today's project. Okay, so here's the thing. When you make the claim that you're building the perfect storage system, it comes with a heavy grain of salt. Because even if you build the most well thought out, optimized, and airtight design, at the end of the day, it still just might not work for someone else. Storage is an inherently subjective thing. It depends on the habits and play style of the user. So what might work for me could be the complete opposite of what other people want for themselves. That being said though, I have put a ton of time into researching and planning out this system, so that's not to say that this is a bad design. Far from it. This thing uses a lot of cool concepts, and I think there's a little something for everybody. There's redstone for the redstone enthusiasts, copper golems for the more casual players, and even a few dolphins for people who like dolphins. We'll talk about that in a minute. The point is, yeah, this setup won't be the right fit for everybody, but there's a lot of cool storage tech that can be applied for your own perfect storage setup, so at the very least, I just hope that this video can be a way for you to learn about some of these features for yourself, because I had a ton of fun figuring them out. So this thing consists of two different setups. There's the hallway in the middle that's used for mass bulk storage, and this is your more traditional redstone-based storage hall. Then off to the back, there's an array of chests organized using copper golems to deal with miscellaneous overflow items. The idea is the majority of my storage can be boiled down to just the raw materials. I don't need a slot for stone bricks, for example, because I can just craft those from regular stone and so on. And in an era where you can use Lightmatica to give you an accurate materials list of everything you're building, it means that you're not often going to overcraft something and need to store the excess. But I would argue that even if you do, it's a great idea to leave a materials chest behind at your old projects. That way, if a creeper ever blows something up or you want to make some changes, you have easy access to some of those materials to get you started. So with all of that in mind, it makes sense that the major focus for storage should be on these raw materials, and the layout in here provides a very convenient way of accessing these items, both with a shulker box display to pull out individual stacks and with chest access to pull out full shulkers. The materials I chose to put in this hallway were based almost entirely on what I have the most of. This means that most of it is the stuff that comes out of terraforming and clearing for projects, as well as other basic materials that I stockpile on the side. I avoided the inclusion of farmable items such as ink sacks, pumpkins, or sugarcane because, generally speaking on this world, I want to have an excuse to travel to the different locations where I farm things, and that would rarely happen if I centralized my storage. Now, traditionally, it's a good idea to leave a few open slots in your storage for new things that might come out in the future, and technically I did that. I have one open slot over here for, I guess, another wood type that we'll inevitably get in the future, but this is more just happenstance. I really decided that I wanted this layout to be tight, and the future flexibility is instead focused over at the second system. Here, copper golems will sort the overflow items however I decide I want it to be organized. And besides the fact that they make it very easy to rearrange things on the fly, I'm also only using a third of the chests, so I have a ton of flexibility here as the game continues to develop and come out with new items. I'm gonna explain how this whole system works component by component, so don't worry if anything is confusing, we'll get into it, but for right now I just want to focus on where this all starts, which is back on the surface inside my central tree. Now this is the storage room on my world. This is what I've had since I generated this world 10 years ago, and it's really never changed and probably never will. I took after Etho with this one, where I have 24 double chests devoted to basically having a little bit of everything in the game. If I bring something back to base, storing it will start here. And since I've updated, I've been taking some time to reorganize these chests and make room for all the new stuff that I now have access to. The idea is I still want to use this room, but supplement it with an automatic system that helps me manage anything that doesn't fit, which is why I added a secret hatch that reveals the input chest to my new storage system I built below. Very important, this thing only takes shulker boxes. So what I'm doing is filling a box on the side with items that I don't have room for, and as soon as it's full, I'll throw it in. Otherwise, it's business as usual. I can just come back from a project with a bunch of filled boxes and just chuck them all in. So let's talk about how everything works. When a shulker enters the system, it travels over to an instant shulker unloader that precariously dispenses and destroys the shulker in lava, but the items get spat out below. It's a design by Ilmango that utilizes a mechanic I will be carefully keeping my eye on in the coming years. You never know when something like this might break and start nuking all your items, but for now it works great, and it's a perfect pick now that I have a renewable source of shulkers. Regardless, the items will travel down to a dolphin where they will get rapidly picked up and spat back out to continue their way into the system. The underlying mechanic is that dolphins can pick up and drop items to play, but as demonstrated in this video by Cubic Meter, they can actually do this at an alarmingly fast rate of 4.6 million items per hour, and when they do this, they reset the despawn timer for items. This is useful because it means that you can just loop a water stream in a storage system and ensure that no matter how many cycles it takes for the items to sort, there will never be any risk of losing those items. And that is exactly what I'm doing with this setup. The bulk storage system has a looping water stream that keeps brute forcing the items along filters until everything gets sorted. And as for the items that won't go in, there's a clever way of getting them out of the loop. Each filter is connected to a detection switch that keeps the loop closed. Only when every single item filter is inactive does this line trip and open a latch that will send the remaining items over to the copper golem setup. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but first let's just take a look at the actual storage hall, which might look complicated, but it's really just one module duplicated 27 times, and that one module can be broken down into two components. The first one on top is a 4x hopper speed shulker box loader that has 2 item filters per module. This helps increase the speed at which items get pulled out of the water stream, and once of course they're in, they get loaded at 4x hopper speed, which is pretty fast. The second component on the bottom is a shulker box display module that shows both the chest of shulkers from the shulker loader and a display shulker that gets dispensed in front of it. The benefit of this system is it allows you to have access to both full shulkers and individual items, and it works incredibly well because when you empty out the display box, the system will automatically collapse it and dispense a fresh one from the chest. The only downside is the empty shulker is not automatically sorted, so I have to throw it into an input chest at the end of the hallway. By the way, it's a really good idea to have all the hoppers backfilled with shulker boxes for the shulker loaders. That way there's never a chance that one of them runs out by accident. And the input chest for these shulkers is right here. I have it so that it splits up the shulkers evenly and sends them up either side using dropper towers. But besides that and the whole array, the only other thing here is the looping water stream, Mr. Dolphin, and the latch that opens up to send the items over to the copper golems. It seems like a lot, but when you break it down into individual pieces, it's actually a very simple system. But if you think that's simple, just wait till you see the copper golem setup. Are you ready? Okay, here it goes. It's an array of 9 chests with copper golems positioned behind them. And yeah, no, that's about it. Items get inputted into a copper chest that the golems will pull from and sort accordingly. Anything that doesn't fit into the 9 chests will go into a 10th chest on the end, which can simply be chained into another copper chest, starting a new module. This is a design by Rapscallion, and I think it's a great way to get into copper golems if you haven't interacted with them yet. It's very easy and cheap to build and helps you understand how copper golems actually work. They only grab items out of copper chests and will sort the said items into nearby regular chests. If the chest is empty, they'll put the items in. If the chest isn't empty, then it checks if any of the items in there matches the one it's holding. If it's a match, then they'll deposit the items. And if it isn't a match, then the golem moves on to another chest. So with that in mind, I think it's wise to make sure that all of your chests have items. Figure out where everything's gonna go first so that when the golems are sorting, they won't just randomly throw something into an empty chest. In my case though, I've set this up very simply just for the items that I don't have room for up in my tree. I've got ore drops, mob drops, and so on. And I've also got shulkers to condense down these items as they build up over time. It's a bit low tech, but I like it for now. What's really nice is because these golems are so adaptable, it gives me the freedom to kinda just wing it as I go. Like right now I've got it set up a certain way, but in the future I could completely change all this and it would still work just as fine. So now that you understand how everything works, let's go back to my tree and give this thing another test drive. I've gone ahead and put together a few boxes that are mixed with items for both the bulk storage and copper golem setup. So let's throw them on in and see what happens. First things first, the instant unloader will nuke the box and drop all the items into the water stream. My dolphin will suck up and spit out the items at an alarming rate, sending them over to the item filters that will begin pulling the corresponding items out of the water stream and automatically packing them into shulker boxes. The stuff that doesn't make it will loop back around, get sucked up and spat out again, and make a second pass along the item filters. This process continues until eventually all of the bulk items will be sorted out, which will trigger the detection circuit that opens up the loop and sends the overflow items down to the water stream to the copper golem storage. Over there, the items get picked up by hoppers connected to a copper chest, and just as a precaution, I actually put another dolphin in this loop to ensure that if the hoppers overflow, there's no risk that the remaining items will despawn while they wait to enter the system. Regardless, the copper golems will begin pulling items out of the copper chest and sort them however I've decided I want them to be sorted. And it looks like that's working just perfectly. I love it. And this setup is really convenient because I could completely change how I want all these chests to be organized and the golems would still sort things correctly. Before these guys were a thing, you'd have to change out item filters and empty out hoppers in order to modify your layout. But with copper golems, you have the luxury of being able to just change the inventory of the chest and everything else works automatically. I've almost tried to not plan ahead with how I wanted to organize this system because I figured that I could just throw things in how I like it now and adjust it as needed in the future. But yeah, overall, I'd say that this entire storage system is a success. Despite not being very big or complicated, it works surprisingly fast and efficiently, and there's no risk of losing my items. I feel like this is the perfect blend of advanced and casual storage tech, bulk silos for the large quantities of items, and copper golems for the rest. It's the best of both worlds, and yeah, I'll say it, I think it's the perfect storage, but hey, only the perfect storage for me. It also happens to literally be a perfect fit, because what you may or may not have realized is that this thing sits very closely between two restraints. If you've been wondering what the sandstone on the floor is, well, that's actually the ceiling of my dwarven throne room I built a few episodes back. And as for my snowy surface up above, yeah, I couldn't have pushed this up any further than I did, lest I completely redo everything on top. I could not have built this system a single block taller than I did. It is quite literally a perfect fit, and the only reason that this was possible is because I specifically chose components that I knew were small enough to work. Did I plan for it to be this close? No, but hey, sometimes things just have a way of working themselves out. The other thing here, besides the restraints above and below, was I wanted to plan out how I'd establish the new cave system down here. So for instance, I decided to put the shulker unloader as far off to the left as I could so I could have plenty of space to walk through this area. And I put the copper golem storage right in the center of this area so that there can be plenty of room to develop the caves linking all of these different spaces together. Now, I'm not planning on doing every cave system today, but I am going to be developing the spaces around the storage system to finish off the project. I've got a brand new ice cave system already designed and ready to build. It's nothing too crazy, but I think it works really well, so let's get into it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you thought of the storage system. Did you love it? Did you hate it? It's okay, you're allowed to hate it, but I do hope that I was at least helpful in sharing some ideas. If you have any questions about the storage system, I'm more than happy to answer them. I'm always checking the comments, and I'm also pretty active on my Discord. All the videos and designs that I used will be linked in the description. Check them out and please give their creators some love. It goes without saying, but none of this would have been possible without their incredible work. And lastly, please check out the Storage Tech Discord. It was a key resource for me because they've got a vast catalog of components and systems that are all extremely well documented and organized, and it honestly made this whole process so easy and fun. If you're looking to put together your own storage system, this is easily the first place I'd point for you to start looking. Other than that, you know how it goes. Like, subscribe, blah blah blah. I appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.